Hello, everyone, and welcome to this 2020 Badge Summit preview with Badge Summit 2020 keynote speaker, Odelia Younge. Odelia, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here.
Odelia, just before we kind of get into, kind of more subject matter type stuff, I thought it'd be really great for folks who aren't already familiar with you to get a sense of just kind of who you are professionally. And at the same time, I feel like you're somebody who, if we ask you, what do you do? Your reaction is probably along the lines of like, well, how much time do you have? Because you are so divergent in your kind of pursuits and expertise. So what do you do?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the introduction. Name is Odelia. My family's from the West Indies. We moved to the US when I was almost 5, grew up in rural Indiana, so I have quite a big heart for rural education. Growing up in tiny, cornfield land, and then spent time living in the East Coast, whether it's Massachusetts or Florida, lived in Ghana doing children's rights work, and then I did grad school in the UK. So moved around a lot, have been deeply impacted by all the places that I have lived, and I bring all of that into my work, and just gets me really excited about helping people have opportunities and do things differently in their life. And in terms of what do I do? Great question. I'd like to think, I'm like to say that I'm I'm an equity champion in education, and that's what drives me. Like, my parents moved to the US for education opportunities, very traditional immigrant story. But you come to realize that too much of what happens to you is about luck. Luck of where you ended up, luck of meeting a right teacher who actually encourages you to do things, luck of, figuring out, having a college admissions counselor who actually encourages you. I don't want to leave things up to luck. I really want to provide opportunities for people to pursue the things that excite them, and then actually be able to have the opportunity to do things once they are learning new skills and developing as people. So just so people can inherently shine whatever light is resonating in them without all the things in society that tries to dim it. And I think education is the best place to try to start to do that.
I love every single piece of that. I also would love it if you could share with folks, just sort of at a more concrete level, some of what your pursuits look like kind of week to week, both with Digital Promise as well as, anything you're willing to share beyond that.
Yeah, so right now I'm the director of micro-credentials at Digital Promise. I've been there for about 4.5 years. Love working with all these amazing people who, we focus on addressing the digital divide, how the differences in how people use technology in powerful ways. And I have, grown in terms of when I first came on the job, I was looking at all of the micro-credentials that we were developing with our content partners. And so that really gave me a deep understanding. I've probably reviewed over 700 micro-credentials in my time working in this space. And so I know so much of what this looks like, implementations, who's working on this different research, and it's a lot of great knowledge to have. And so right now, day to day, I put my work in 3 buckets. So one realm, I'm still working on how are we striving towards widespread adoption of credentialing in this country, and working outside the country as well. And so who do we need to be in conversation with? Because we can't do this work alone at Digital Promise. I don't think the work we do is just the only work. We need to be developing out a very rich ecosystem. We need to be putting together things in a way that integrate, that resonate, that helps people find quality, so that this is a robust system that continues to grow. The second thing I do is thinking about implementation, what are all the different ways that this can exist? Because I don't think that credentialing needs to live in one particular bucket. I think that there are multiple challenges that this can help address. And so looking at what are the different ways we're seeing people implement credentialing across the country, and how do we elevate those stories? Storytelling is so important when it comes to something that is new in the field. And as people are telling these new stories, it helps us imagine new realities. And that's important for people to even enter the conversation, let alone continue to drive towards widespread adoption. And then the third bucket is just, research. People are interested in what does this say? What is the impact? And, we're a little early on, but we've got to put the things in place right now that helps us capture the research to show what is the long-term impact in terms of who is having opportunity, who is able to access things, and then also what's the impact they have on their job. Like, what are they able to do in 10 years that maybe someone who does not have as much flexible access to professional learning opportunities has or doesn't have. So it's kind of the three buckets that we do our work in. And yeah, I think the best part about our work is how much we love our partnerships. And we've partnered with over, 55 organizations now that help us do what we do, because you need to build a coalition of people who are all driving towards the same vision.
I love every piece of that so much, especially, when we think about the implementation, Odelia, and just that there's not a kind of singular right answer to how we go about doing this, that there's lots of really great paths. At the same time, people who are new to this want to kind of start a place of, so what exactly is micro-credentialing? What is your way right now in your journey for how you explain to people? How do you help them conceptually wrap their heads around just what is micro-credentialing?
Yeah, well, I think about the fact we ask people all the time, like, are you certified to do this? So the micro credential is this like digital certification, like how are we using the online space that's verifying someone in like one particular skill or a set of skills, because you can develop out a pathway of credentials that says, these 5 skills is this like larger like commentary on someone's skills and abilities. So it really is about like, what can someone do? And you need to have knowledge, but the most important thing to remember about a micro-credential, it is about actual demonstration in your practice. Like, we know learning's taking place many places, but what does it actually look like to apply? And what would it look like to, as you're applying a new skill, to, take a little bit of evidence, like, oh, someone wants to know that I'm really good with bikes and I'm the best bike shop around. Like, what would be the evidence that you would show someone? Probably new bikes you put together, the way that you like quickly assemble it. And so like, that's what we're trying to do, like really distill down what does a skill look like and what do we need to gather from someone to know that we can say, yes, this person has this skill. And how do we build out the rubrics and the systems around that to really feel like we could put our stamp of approval behind a skill when someone demonstrates it.
Mm-hmm. And as you pointed out, and you've been doing this as long as just about anybody, and just with so many dozens of different implementations. As you're doing this work, have you had an opportunity to kind of identify, at a very high level, a handful of best practices that for you, you would encourage folks to consider as kind of non-negotiables?
Yeah, I think one non-negotiable, and it isn't directly written into the credential, but you do come with that as you're writing it, is about like, what do you want to use it for?
Mm.
It's really important that this isn't about like a punitive system, like, oh, you're failing here, you have to earn these credentials. It's about providing the opportunity for people to showcase and grow. So you have to ask yourself, like, what are you trying to do with the credential? Like, what are you trying to do better or in a new way or give access to more people? Because that is going to be how you approach writing your credential. Another important best practice is leaning on research. Like, we've done really great research. And one of the things I love most about Digital Promise is how we're trying to break down these silos between research and developers and educators. And so like, we've got all of this research, like how are we then pulling it out to say, okay, if we want these outcomes, what are the skills then? So really leaning on research to help you really pull out what it is that you're trying to outline in this micro-credential. And just thinking about how you want to provide the most opportunities for people to engage. So you don't need to particularly write a micro-credential to use one piece of technology. Like, we love to say like, oh, this is a skill. There are like 50,000 different pieces of technology you could possibly use to do it. Like, let people use the one that is right for their context.
Yeah, I mean, we just see eye to eye on so much stuff, and I'm guessing that my last question kind of will continue on that path. I definitely, when I look out to the future, am convinced in my heart and soul that what we're doing is just transformative work that can just powerfully impact a better and more equitable and more accessible future for millions and millions of people across this world. And that it's kind of this march to ubiquity that we're kind of witnessing in real time. And I really wonder for you, if you kind of dream out 5 or even 10 years from now, what about this space do you see looking about the same? And what about do you see being greatly evolved?
Well, one thing I want to see look different in 5 years is who is involved in this space and who is. I think there was a research from last year that showed that there was a lot of kind of the same people, high numbers of like white males, like engaging in credentialing. But when this was first dreamed up, it was about like, how are we helping other people access this, immigrant origin adults, people who are, Black and brown folk, like, how are we giving them more access, like building the confidence in saying like these are skills, helping employers understand like if you design out how do you get from point A to point B in your career, and then providing that opportunity to anyone who looks at that, like that's so exciting. And we've talked about this, and who I am in my work like is really important, like I'm Black woman, like immigrant. And so I've seen over the course of my life so many people that I love be boxed out of opportunities. And so in 5 years, I really want to know that, the things that I'm working on, the things that all of us are working on in this space have created it so that the people who are on the margins now, who are not getting the opportunities that they really long for, that like helps them like engage in our society and be able to move their lives forward, are really able to take advantage of this, and to know that the things that they do and they develop and work on are going to be recognized, and it's going to be meaningful. And that's what's going to be leading first, instead of all the other barriers.
Mm. Odelia, thank you so much for sharing with us. I know that I'm even more excited than I already was for your Keynote Badge Summit. For anybody who's not yet registered, www.thebadgesummit.com. Registration's still open. It is only $36, and it is going to be June 25 and 26. It's going to be awesome. Clearly,
Yes.
Odelia is our keynote. And Odelia, just thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you for having me.